This review is very late, and that cannot be helped. There were circumstances. More than that, it's episode. Well, technically, this is episode 10, although although I think I would have called it. What is that? Let's see, maybe 13 or something like that. Maybe or maybe 12 is that what I would have called it. Either way, the fact that these episodes air in different order is not exactly so good when you review them, because then you don't know how to write in them all. Either way, Ducktales has returned with a new episode The Spear of Selene, as this is an episode dedicated to the mystery of Della Duck. Where is Della Duck, and what is the Spear of Selene? Well, we do not know where Della Duck is, but we do get some insight on what this happens. Also, this episode seems to pay tribute to the old comics books that the Greek gods are actually real. Either way, through as the gang, including Donald this time, travel over the ocean in Launchpad's gear, through some quick methods, Dewey and Webby sabotage the ship so they can land in Ethaquack, which is actually the home to the Greek gods. As they land there, Donald immediately get run over by a very muscular duck called Storkles, obviously a parody on Hercules, on Disney's Hercules, as well as being a little bit over the top and, well, attached to Donald, almost to the point of Houye, voiced by Chris Diamantopoulos as well. But Donald and Scrooge just want to leave the island. Unfortunately, they can't. And too late, then Zeus, voiced by none other than Michael Chiklis, appears and reveals that Scrooge and his nephews Donald and Della actually made mess here. Of course, he doesn't mention Della, but when Storkles asks Donald where she is, he gives a sad nod and he says, "Oh, I see," meaning they do not know what happened to the famous Della duck. A side story of this is Huey and Webby walking a different place in order to find the temple of Selene, the moon goddess, because maybe that will answer the question on what the spear of Selene is. But Huey gets to show very conflicted emotions here. Most of the fact that the text says, "Scrooge, I'm taking the spear of Selene. I am sorry." Is that meant to imply that Della somehow betrayed Scrooge? Webby's comment do not help. The real story, though, is not only Storkles being so very enthusiastic to meet Donald, who he calls best friend. Zeus, which is the god of hospitality, is actually a sore loser and a jerk here. Actually, one of the more Disney versions of a jerk version of Zeus in this one, as he challenges them to game, but the Ducks still win. It eventually boils down to the point where Zeus uses a siren child to hypnotize his own son Storkles to attack the gang. But luckily Donald managed to prevent that, as well as Louis managed to stop the siren from singing, who has a raspy voice, by the way. Kind of funny of it all. And this episode is also way good because it makes Donald go back to his adventure roots. But there are two lines in this episode that are most noteworthy. The first line is from Donald about Della when Storkles says getting hurt is part of the adventure. Your sister Della would have said that. Donald just suddenly says, "Well, she can't." This is one of the first times, actually, it's also one of the first times in this episode where Donald actually acknowledges Della's existence. Whatever happened to Della, it broke Donald, because it says someone always gets hurt and she can't. Is that really meant to imply that Della is dead? Or if she's not dead, she is at least in a place that she cannot come back to? More than that, however, Huey and Webby manage to find the temple of Selene and Selene herself, who reveals the shocking moment that the spear Selene actually is not real. I never had a spear. She had a sphere of Selene, but not a spear of Selene. Which makes Webby question the most important clue. What if the spear Selene is not a spear, but something else? Indeed, what could the spear Selene mean? Apparently, Selene uh, and um, and Della were friends. So could it very well be that maybe it could be something else? I mean, there was a theory on a famous YouTuber that said something that maybe the spear Selene is a vehicle, not a spear as it said. But Huey gets a little bit closer when he looks into the sphere and sees that Della really was a kind-hearted person that everyone loved. Eventually, the episode ends with Scrooge trying to make events with Zeus, but Zeus refuses because Zeus is just that prideful. So he throws a game that unfortunately Huey managed to crush. And the episode ends with a brick joke, as in the beginning, Launchpad says he will have to take apart the ship to find the problem, and he eventually did. He took apart the ship just to find one lousy screw. That's basically this episode. All in all, a good one. There was some conflicts between Huey um, uh, and Webby there. So because well, that shows a very sincere way that a child do not want to know what has happened to his mother or his family. Just out of fear of that. That's very realistic. So there was some emotion here. Storkolies and Zeus, well, they were very funny, a bit over the top, but I like that. And again, an episode dedicated to the mystery of Della. What really did happen to her? Oh, this is exciting. But this is basically this episode. All in all, I enjoyed it. And it was good voice cast. Oh yeah, I forgot. Selene was voiced by Nia Vardalos. So yeah, it was a good episode. And Donald got actually a little bit bigger role this time. Is he back to the adventure roots? Who knows? But you give me your thoughts if you have any.